Have you ever felt like you're fighting battles no one else can see, doing everything right, praying, pushing forward, yet the resistance only seems to grow stronger? Have you noticed that the closer you get to your purpose, the more intense the spiritual pressure becomes, as if something is trying to drain your strength, confuse your mind, or make you give up? This is not random, and it's not because you're weak. If you're here, it's because God didn't just call you, He equipped you. The real issue is not a lack of faith or effort, but the fact that powerful spiritual weapons were placed in your hands, and many chosen ones go through life without ever learning how to use them. Let me ask you something serious. How many times have you tried to win spiritual battles using only emotions, logic, or sheer willpower, when God already gave you divine tools for these conflicts? In this video, you're about to discover the 7 spiritual weapons God has given to the chosen, and when they are activated, everything changes. Your mind becomes stronger, your spirit becomes protected, and your authority shifts in ways the enemy cannot ignore. If you want to stop reacting and start overcoming, if you want clarity in spiritual warfare and the strength to stand firm no matter the pressure, stay until the end. Ignoring this keeps you vulnerable, but understanding and applying it can completely transform your spiritual walk. Before we go any further, take a second and commit to this moment. If you're ready to stop guessing, stop struggling blindly, and finally understand what's really happening in the spiritual realm around you, then stay fully present. This is not background noise. This is not just another video. What you're about to learn can shift how you face pressure, temptation, fear, and spiritual attacks from this point forward. Pay attention, because every weapon revealed builds on the next, and missing one can mean fighting without full authority. If this message connects with you, make a clear decision right now. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and watch until the very end. Don't skip ahead, don't rush the process, and don't ignore the moments that feel uncomfortable. That's often where real breakthroughs begin. These 7 spiritual weapons were placed in your hands for a reason, and by the end of this video, you'll understand how to activate them and walk with confidence instead of confusion. Stay with me, because what comes next may finally explain battles you've been fighting for years. Spiritual weapon. 1. The weapon of spiritual discernment. Spiritual discernment becomes truly effective when you stop treating it as something you use only in emergencies and begin applying it as a constant filter for daily life. This weapon is activated in the small moments most people ignore: the sudden loss of peace, the unexplained hesitation, the inner signal that something is off, even when everything looks fine on the surface. For example, you may notice that every time you decide to grow, commit, or change direction, familiar distractions appear. Old cycles try to pull you back, or discouragement rises without a clear reason. Discernment allows you to recognize these patterns not as coincidence, but as resistance. Instead of reacting impulsively, you learn to slow down, observe, and choose your response with intention. This prevents emotional burnout and keeps you from engaging in battles that were never meant to be fought directly. Over time, discernment trains your mind to stay calm under pressure and your spirit to stay alert, making confusion lose its power before it fully forms. On a practical level, spiritual discernment guides decisions that logic alone cannot resolve. When choosing relationships, opportunities, or commitments, discernment often speaks through subtle misalignment, repeated delays, or a lack of peace that refuses to disappear. Even when something looks beneficial, this weapon helps you sense whether it will strengthen or drain you long term. You also sharpen discernment by reviewing your reactions daily, noticing what consistently exhausts you versus what quietly strengthens you. This creates a mental and emotional loop where awareness improves intuition. Intuition leads to wiser decisions, and wiser decisions reduce unnecessary spiritual conflict. The more you honor these inner signals, instead of dismissing them, the clearer they become. With practice, discernment stops being uncertain or vague and becomes a reliable guide, helping you identify battles early, preserve your energy, and stay aligned with purpose rather than constantly recovering from avoidable struggles. Spiritual weapon 2. The weapon of spiritual authority. Spiritual authority is not about volume, force, or emotional intensity. It is about position and alignment. This weapon activates the moment you understand who you are and where your authority comes from. Many people pray hoping circumstances will change, yet authority operates from certainty, not desperation. In daily life, spiritual authority is exercised when you stop tolerating what continuously violates your peace, your focus, or your values. For example, recurring fear, intrusive thoughts, persistent discouragement, or cycles of self-sabotage are not meant to be negotiated with. Authority allows you to confront these patterns decisively instead of emotionally. When you recognize that not every thought deserves agreement and not every feeling deserves control, your posture shifts. Resistance responds differently to someone who knows their ground. Over time, this weapon retrains your internal dialogue, replacing hesitation with clarity and passivity with confidence, creating an environment where confusion can no longer dominate your decisions. Spiritual authority also shows up in how you speak, choose, and remain firm when pressure tries to move you out of alignment. Practically, this means setting boundaries without guilt, saying no without over-explaining, and standing still when everything urges you to react. Authority grows when exercised consistently, even in small moments. Each time you choose obedience over impulse, clarity over chaos, and alignment over approval, this weapon strengthens. There is a psychological shift that happens here. Fear loses its ability to rush you, and urgency no longer dictates your actions. This creates a reinforcing loop where confidence strengthens authority and authority reduces internal conflict. As a result, battles that once felt overwhelming begin to lose intensity, not because resistance disappears, but because it no longer controls your response. Spiritual authority positions you to lead your life instead of constantly defending it, turning pressure into confirmation that you are standing exactly where you are meant to be. Spiritual weapon 3. The weapon of faith under pressure. Faith under pressure is revealed when circumstances actively contradict what you believe is meant for your life. This weapon is not passive optimism or blind positivity. It is the decision to stay aligned when evidence suggests retreat. In practical terms, faith under pressure is used when progress feels slow, when answers are delayed, and when effort does not immediately produce visible results. For example, you may feel called to grow, change direction, or step into a new level, yet everything around you becomes harder instead of easier. This is where many people misinterpret resistance as failure. Faith under pressure allows you to recognize that difficulty does not always mean you are off track. Often, it confirms that movement is happening beneath the surface. Instead of constantly checking for results, you stay consistent in action, attitude, and expectation. This stabilizes your emotions and prevents discouragement from turning into doubt. Over time, this creates a loop where endurance strengthens belief, and belief sustains endurance, keeping you grounded even when outcomes are unclear. Practically applying this weapon means choosing consistency over emotional fluctuation. When motivation drops, faith keeps you disciplined. When fear tries to exaggerate consequences, faith reframes perspective. You use this weapon by maintaining your habits even when enthusiasm fades, by speaking with confidence even when certainty feels challenged, and by continuing forward movement without needing constant reassurance. For instance, instead of abandoning a plan because progress feels invisible, faith under pressure teaches you to measure alignment rather than speed. You also strengthen this weapon by recalling past moments when pressure preceded breakthrough, training your mind to associate resistance with refinement instead of defeat. Each time you act despite uncertainty, faith becomes less theoretical and more operational. This creates emotional resilience, making future challenges feel familiar rather than overwhelming. Faith under pressure transforms waiting from frustration into preparation and turns silence into strengthening. When consistently applied, this weapon shifts your internal posture from reaction to stability, allowing you to remain calm, focused, and decisive even when the environment is unpredictable. Spiritual weapon. 4. The weapon of spiritual protection. Spiritual protection is activated long before a visible attack ever appears. This weapon works by guarding your inner world so external pressure cannot easily gain access. Many people believe protection only matters during intense spiritual moments, but in reality, it is built through daily awareness. For example, spiritual protection is active when you refuse to let negative conversations shape your mindset, when you stop replaying discouraging thoughts, and when you recognize that not every emotional reaction deserves your energy. Fatigue, irritation, comparison, and mental overload are often the earliest signs that protection has weakened. When this happens, people don't fall suddenly. They erode slowly. Spiritual protection restores stability by filtering what enters your mind, what influences your emotions, and what controls your focus. Instead of absorbing everything around you, you become selective. This shifts your internal environment from reactive to guarded, making it harder for confusion or discouragement to settle in and grow. In practical use, this weapon becomes stronger through intentional boundaries. This includes limiting exposure to content that feeds fear or negativity, choosing silence instead of constant explanation, and stepping back from environments that consistently drain you. Protection also operates when you pause before responding, allowing emotions to settle before decisions are made. Over time, this creates a reinforcing loop. The more you protect your inner space, the clearer your thinking becomes, and the clearer your thinking becomes, the easier it is to maintain protection. You begin to notice that certain thoughts no longer linger, certain triggers lose their intensity, and certain pressures fail to provoke the same reactions they once did. Spiritual protection doesn't isolate you from life, it stabilizes you within it. As this weapon strengthens, your resilience increases, your peace lasts longer, and your energy becomes more consistent. This allows you to engage challenges without being consumed by them, preserving strength for moments that truly matter. Spiritual protection is also practiced through recovery, not just resistance. Rest, reflection, and intentional disconnection are part of this weapon's function. When you learn to recover properly, pressure no longer accumulates unchecked. This prevents burnout and emotional exhaustion, two conditions that weaken spiritual clarity. Each time you choose rest over overexertion and clarity over chaos, you reinforce this protection. Eventually, what once felt overwhelming begins to feel manageable, not because life becomes easier, but because your inner defenses are stronger. Spiritual protection ensures that progress is sustainable, keeping you mentally clear, emotionally steady, and spiritually grounded, even when external circumstances remain unpredictable. Spiritual weapon 5, the weapon of prayer with intent prayer. With intent is what transforms communication into alignment. This weapon is not about repeating words or filling silence. It is about directing focus with clarity and purpose. Many people pray from a place of anxiety, listing problems without awareness, which often reinforces stress instead of peace. Prayer with intent shifts that posture. It begins when you slow down enough to recognize what truly needs to be addressed, rather than reacting to everything at once. In practice, this means entering prayer already aware of your emotional state, your thoughts, and the pressure you're under. Instead of asking vague questions, you speak with direction, clarity, and expectation. This kind of prayer sharpens discernment, stabilizes emotions, and creates inner order. Over time, prayer stops being a reaction to chaos and becomes a grounding force that organizes your inner world before decisions are made. Using this weapon effectively means praying with focus instead of urgency. For example, rather than praying out of frustration when something goes wrong, intentional prayer pauses first, allowing emotions to settle. You acknowledge what you're feeling without letting it control the conversation. This trains your mind to move from panic to perspective. Another practical use is consistency. Short, focused prayers throughout the day often carry more power than occasional emotional ones. When pressure rises, intentional prayer helps you reset quickly instead of spiraling mentally. This creates a loop where clarity strengthens prayer and prayer deepens clarity. As a result, your responses become calmer, your decisions more grounded, and your sense of direction more stable, even when circumstances remain uncertain. Prayer with intent also reinforces endurance. When progress feels slow or answers seem delayed, this weapon prevents discouragement from turning into doubt. You use it by praying alignment rather than outcomes, asking not only for change, but for stability, awareness, and strength during the process. Over time, this shifts your internal posture from waiting anxiously to moving confidently. Intentional prayer reduces emotional noise, making it easier to recognize when to act and when to wait. Each time you practice this, prayer becomes less about urgency and more about connection, less about fear and more about trust. Eventually, this weapon integrates into daily life so naturally that pressure no longer feels overwhelming. Instead, it becomes a signal to realign, refocus, and continue forward with clarity and confidence. Spiritual weapon 6, the weapon of perseverance. Perseverance is the discipline of staying aligned when momentum slows and motivation fades. This weapon becomes most necessary not at the beginning of a journey, but in the middle, when progress feels repetitive, results appear distant, and enthusiasm no longer carries you forward. Many people mistake this phase for failure and quit too early, not realizing that perseverance is often the final test before breakthrough. In daily life, this weapon is activated when you continue showing up, even when effort feels unnoticed. For example, maintaining healthy habits without immediate reward, staying committed to growth while facing silence, or continuing to act with integrity when shortcuts seem tempting. Perseverance stabilizes your direction when emotions fluctuate, preventing temporary discomfort from derailing long-term purpose. Over time, this creates internal strength that no longer depends on external validation, making consistency your greatest advantage. Practically applying perseverance means redefining success during seasons of pressure. Instead of measuring progress by visible results alone, you begin measuring it by consistency, alignment, and resilience. This shift protects you from discouragement when outcomes are delayed. For instance, when improvement feels slow, perseverance teaches you to focus on repetition rather than reward, trusting that accumulation produces transformation. You also strengthen this weapon by breaking large goals into manageable actions, reducing the emotional weight of long journeys. Each completed step reinforces confidence, creating a loop where consistency builds strength and strength sustains consistency. Perseverance also trains emotional regulation, helping you move forward without reacting to every rise and fall in motivation. This steadiness prevents burnout and keeps your progress sustainable. Perseverance is further developed through patience with yourself. Many people lose momentum not because resistance is strong, but because self-criticism becomes overwhelming. This weapon replaces harsh judgment with steady commitment. When setbacks happen, perseverance keeps you grounded, encouraging adjustment instead of abandonment. In practice, this means learning from mistakes without letting them define your path. Over time, perseverance transforms pressure into endurance, endurance into confidence, and confidence into stability. What once felt exhausting becomes familiar, and what once seemed impossible becomes manageable. This weapon ensures that growth continues even when conditions are imperfect, allowing you to move forward calmly, consistently, and with increasing strength until progress becomes undeniable. Spiritual weapon 7. The weapon of obedience. Obedience is the decision to move in alignment even when understanding is incomplete. This weapon is often misunderstood because it doesn't rely on emotion, urgency, or visible confirmation. Obedience operates in the quiet moments where choices are made without applause. In daily life, this weapon is activated when you follow direction despite discomfort, delay gratification despite pressure, and choose integrity despite easier alternatives. For example, you may feel prompted to step away from certain environments, habits, or relationships that no longer support your growth, even when logic argues to stay. Obedience keeps you positioned correctly, and position determines outcome. Many struggles persist not because strength is lacking, but because alignment is partial. When obedience becomes consistent, resistance loses leverage, confusion decreases, and clarity increases without force. Practically applying obedience means responding to inner conviction before external confirmation appears. This looks like acting on clarity instead of waiting for perfect conditions. When you sense a need to change pace, rest, speak up, or remain silent, obedience turns awareness into action. It also shows up in routine decisions, honoring commitments, maintaining discipline, and choosing patience when impatience feels justified. Over time, obedience creates a powerful internal loop where trust strengthens action and action deepens trust. You begin to notice that situations resolve more smoothly, pressure shortens its duration, and recovery from setbacks becomes faster. Obedience doesn't remove challenges, it reduces friction within them. By staying aligned, you stop fighting battles created by mispositioning, conserving energy for what truly matters. Obedience also sharpens discernment and reinforces authority, completing the system of spiritual weapons. Each obedient decision reinforces clarity, making future direction easier to recognize. This weapon teaches you that progress doesn't always come from doing more, but from doing what is required consistently. When obedience becomes a lifestyle rather than a reaction, it stabilizes your path and accelerates growth naturally. What once felt confusing begins to feel ordered. What once required effort begins to flow with purpose. Obedience ensures sustainability, protecting you from burnout, regret, and unnecessary detours. When fully activated, this weapon positions you to move forward with confidence, knowing that alignment, not force, is what carries you through resistance and into lasting strength. Now take a moment and look at the full picture. Discernment showed you what was really happening. Authority taught you how to stand your ground. Faith under pressure kept you moving when results were delayed. Protection guarded your mind and emotions. Prayer with intent realigned you when pressure increased. Perseverance carried you through seasons where quitting felt easier. And obedience positioned you exactly where strength, clarity, and growth could meet. These 7 spiritual weapons were never meant to be used separately. They function as a system. When one is neglected, pressure increases. When all are activated, resistance weakens. The battles that once drained you were not meant to defeat you. They were meant to train you. What changes everything is not receiving new strength, but finally using the strength that was already placed within you. If this video brought clarity to battles you've been fighting for a long time, don't let this be just another moment of understanding without action. Like this video to affirm that you're choosing awareness over confusion. Subscribe to the channel so you stay connected to teachings that strengthen, not distract. And most importantly, revisit these weapons intentionally. Apply them daily, not emotionally, and watch how pressure begins to lose its control over you. Stay aligned, stay consistent, and remember, you were never unarmed. You were only unaware. The moment you start using what you've been given, everything changes.